how to lay sod. I guess if you're one thing you can do is call us here at Houston Grass and say, hey, I need 4 pallets laid in my backyard and it's bare dirt, and we bring it to your house and we send guys to install it, and you can do it that way. Or if you need grass removed, we also offer that service where we come in with a sod cutter, cut the grass out, and bring in a little topsoil and then lay the grass for you. But to me, this question is more if I'm a homeowner and want to lay my own grass, what is the process? We'll say that you have existing grass there, because there's kind of 2 different scenarios. If you don't have any grass there at all, obviously it's pretty easy. If you have some good topsoil already there, you can just lay the grass. I tell everybody it's like laying tile. You just put it out there, take it off the pallet, 16 by 24 inch pieces. You lay it out there as tight as you can put it together, because you don't want there to be any seams, because wherever sun can penetrate and get to the dirt, weed seeds can germinate. So not only that, but it's just unsightly. So I would say tools that would be needed, a good wheelbarrow, because most of the time for most of the yards that we take grass to, we're not able to drive our forklift. We take a forklift off the back of our 18-wheelers, and normally we set the pallets in your driveway unless you have a really large yard that's accessible by the forklift is whatever the width of an 18-wheeler, so most people don't have a gate big enough for it to drive to the backyard and whatnot, so we can kind of spot them out there. Obviously that's ideal, so you're just unloading it, but most people, we put them in your driveway. You have a wheelbarrow, you throw the pieces of grass, 15 or 20 pieces in the wheelbarrow. You have to wheel them to the backyard, and the pieces weigh, I don't know, 15, 18 pounds a piece, I would say, at least. And then you lay those pieces out there. You need, so again, supplies needed: a wheelbarrow, and I would say probably a shovel, and preferably one of the shovels, the flat shovels, not the one that's shaped like this, but it's flat across the front, so that you can push it along the edge of the concrete and add or remove dirt if you need to. Because one of the things you want to do is make sure that dirt level is below the, not flush with the level of the concrete, or you're going to create a dam every time it rains. You want that grass to be down, at least the dirt on the bottom of the grass to lay just below the top edge of the concrete. And so other tips, other than you placing the grass real close, you would also need a machete, because obviously you're not going to be able to just go row after row after row. There's going to be trees to go around, flower beds to go around, so a good sharp machete. You can use a shovel. A new shovel that has a little bit of a blade is a decent way to cut the pieces of grass the way you need it, but a sharp machete is so much better, and also a relatively inexpensive purchase down at Lowe's or Home Depot or the hardware store or whatever. And so those are kind of the only only tools, other than a strong back and maybe a pair of gloves, to lay in the grass. But just getting it out there. People ask, well, do I need to stagger it and all that? And you really don't. If you've got a big incline, that's the only time that it would be important to lay it like brick, so that if a big rain comes, the pieces of grass kind of hold one another in place if they're staggered, as opposed to all the seams lining up. But yeah, just doing that, and then I guess the biggest thing about laying new grass is water. As soon as it's laid down, you need to have already bought hoses and sprinklers, or an irrigation system needs to be in place, so that you can really get on the watering. Usually, I think I've timed it, and with a regular hose and a sprinkler, the sprinklers that go like this back and forth, I call them a wand style sprinkler. It takes about 4 hours to put out 1 inch of water with standard city water pressure and whatnot. So you have to put out 2 inches of water, which is what we recommend. It takes 8 hours we tell everybody 8 to 10 hours the first day that you lay the grass down. And people's eyes usually get really big when we do that, because it's you turn your yard into a swamp when you do that. If you've done it right if you step off the concrete and you leave a footprint. You sink down and you have to step back. Oh, I shouldn't have stepped there. That's how you know you've put enough water out the first day. What you're doing is sealing that piece of grass to the existing dirt, and if you don't do that, it can create a lot of problems. You're not just giving it a little refresher of water to refreshen it. That first day watering process is actually sticking it to the ground and getting rid of the air bubbles between air pockets between the piece of grass and the new piece of grass and the existing ground. So, and then we have tip sheets on our website, and we have a lot printed out too that we hand out here at our office and everything. But it's very important to keep up with that watering for the first week. It's imperative, and the second week you can back off a little bit. By the third week, it's usually got roots, it's attached to the ground. You can start pulling off the water pretty significantly. But those first couple of weeks, it's very important to watch it and maintain that water on it. And I would say that's probably the most important part about laying new grass. Grass will grow on just about anything you lay it on. The perfect base in the world for it is 6 brand new inches of good alluvial topsoil. Hardly any of the grass that ever leaves this place gets laid on something like that. Though most people have whatever the builder left them, which is usually sand or some kind of mix or a lot of clay. If you can put some good topsoil out there before you get started, it's great. But most people lay it on whatever is there, and the grass will grow and it'll be fine there. Over the years, you're going to water it a little more frequently, and it's going to take a few more fertilizations over time, but it's just not feasible in most cases to remove. You can't go add 6 inches of new dirt or even 3 inches of new dirt on top of what's already there. You create a big drainage problems and everything else. So if you're going to do that, you have to remove 3 inches of what's there and then bring in the new. That's not feasible in most circumstances, for sure. It would be a huge expense and probably be a train wreck in a lot of cases, so messing up drainage and all sort of things. So getting the area good and smooth and free of vegetation is how you start. And speaking of free of vegetation, if you're not starting with a new house on new dirt with no weeds on it and stuff like that, if there's existing grass there, you'll have to rent a sod cutter. Some people ideally you would want to spray whatever is there with a weed killer of some sort, Roundup or equivalent. Give it about 10 to 14 days to die, and then scrape it out of there with a sod cutter. A lot of people, if you do that weed killer process, and then you can also use a weed eater and cut it down very aggressively, and you can lay the grass on top of that. Obviously that's not near as ideal as using that sod cutter that we rent one from Home Depot. Then that scrapes off everything that's there and leaves you nothing but bare dirt, and that's how a much better clean slate to start with. But it is an expense. It creates a lot of stuff to haul off, so some people don't want to deal with that, but it is certainly the best way to do it. And then you know really what you've got if that's the case. And just if you have to do something like that, you need to make arrangements to haul off all the material that it's gonna create, whether that's a dumpster or lots of big heavy duty trash bags or something like that.